Okay guys, let's talk about the iPad. Super cool. Have the ability to mix remotely. Have the ability to go down to where the people are at and hear what they're hearing. Super incredibly cool. So let's start with the iPad. So there's a button on the upper right here. I'm going to go ahead and press it. Where'd it go? There it is. On the upper right, you press and hold that to turn the iPad on. So it's going to go ahead and go through its startup sequence here. Incidentally, if you want to turn the iPad off, you press and hold that long enough, and a little icon will come up here saying slide to turn off. You slide it to the right, and it'll turn off. Maybe I'll show you that in a second. So we're going to get this iPad loaded up here, and then this screen, you've got a password screen. What I've done is at install, I've set this up to be the address of the building, which is 2200, but you can always change that if you want to. So 2200 gets us into, no SIM card, no kidding. 2200 gets us into the home page here. And what I've done is I've basically thrown all the other apps into this extras folder. Hold on here, let me make this a little brighter. Okay. I've thrown all the other apps into this extras folder and just left certain apps here on the dock that you will use, as well as the actual mixing app. So there's two mixing apps, and one of them, the one here, 32 Mix, is the one you'll use as an audio engineer. M32Q is what people will use to mix their in-ear monitors if they're getting a wired feed from the board. So let's go ahead and hit, actually before we do that, I need to talk about wireless settings here. If we go to the settings app and we navigate to, you can see that Wi-Fi is currently on and it's connected to Canvas Church Media. If I turn, if I go to Wi-Fi, I will see over here all the different available networks, the wireless networks that are available that it's picking up on, which isn't a ton right now. But what I've done is there's no internet access on this iPad because I did not want this Wi-Fi to automatically connect to any other wireless router than the one we've set up for Canvas Church Media, because it's important that this stays connected to the mixing board and isn't confused by anything else. So that's what you want it to be set on, is the Canvas Church Media. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. By the way, if you haven't used the iPad before, let me just kind of show you some general things here. There's a home button down here. Let's see if you can see that where my finger is. There's a home button there. If you hit the home button once, you'll get back to the home screen. But the other programs are still open in the background. So if you hit it twice, tap, tap, then you can see these other programs that are open, and you can swipe them out of the way to get rid of them, okay, and not have them running in the background. Okay, so you tap back on the home screen there and you're good to go. So we're going to open this M32 Mix right now, okay, and it's going to try to connect wirelessly to the board. So what we see here is it already connected because it's connected to the correct wireless router. It sees the board just fine. So here's the cool part. You can see that I am connected, and this first channel here is called click, and the first channel here is click. So when I move the fader, hello, Ghost Rider, sweet. All right, so we're talking. All right, so I'm not going to go through every setting. I'm just going to go through the basics here, because if you know how to run the board, you know how to run this thing. Everything is clearly labeled and it looks the same, and it's super easy to navigate. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here real quick. So what you do is you've got these layer channel banks. So right now we're in channel 1 through 8. There's 9 through 16, 17 through 24, and so on. And there's the effects returns. There's bus 1 through 8, bus 9 through 16. There's matrix and main, and then you have your DCAs. You also have these other menu items up here for different functionality. But for the most part, you'll be sticking with these banks. So you know, it's just like it says. If I go to bank 9 through 16, I'm looking at a new set of instruments. So you've got guitars over here and the keys over there. Here's your DCAs. Super important to know where these are at. All the way over here. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Here are the DCAs. So I've got drums, guitar, and so on. Let's say you want to tweak on a channel. So I'm going to go back to the first bank and I click on the name where it says kick. And now, there it goes. Now I've got all these settings that are available to me. So I can see there's configure and preamp. I can see where my gain is set. I can see all that introductory stuff like we talked about before. I can see the signal path. I can decide if dynamics is pre or post EQ. Okay. Gate. Got my gate settings. Dynamics. I've got my compressor settings. EQ. There it is. By the way, if you want to see a live representation of the frequencies that are coming through on the graph here, like you do on the console, you can hit the RTA button right there. Now there's nothing going on this channel right now, so we don't see anything, but that's where it would show up. Let me use a channel. Let me do this. Let me play back some music here. Play back some music. There we go. We're going to switch over to here. You can see there's the AUX 1 iPod coming in. So I'm going to change to that bank over here as well. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Try again. There it is. So you can see the RTA kicking into gear there on the EQ. You can also deselect the RTA and it turns it off. Sweet, right? Okay. You also have your sends. So you can tell I'm sending some to the miscellaneous 10 right now so that people can hear them in their in-ears. You've got the naming. So this is where you would change the color of the channel, add an icon, change the name to it. You can type in a name manually there as well. You got presets. This is where you would load and save your presets to this channel or from this channel. So look at all those, right? And you've got places where you can, some blank spots where you can load some stuff or save it rather. So those are the main functions of using the iPad. Super cool. So glad you guys have opted to go with this. There is a home page you can go like that and get back to your mixing here, depending on which bank you're on, right? Fader bank. See that? Super simple. There's the master fader. So you also have a master mute. So if something goes crazy and the system's squealing or whatever, you can always mute the whole system here and then maybe run up to the board if you needed to. Again, don't think you're going to have any problems at all, but there's kind of like a panic button, if you will, if you happen to be away from the board and something's not working. All right? So there is the iPad. I should mention, I mentioned this in another video, but the iPad is communicating with this wireless router right here. And that's what we've called Canvas Media. All right? Canvas Church Media. One more thing I should mention too is that the network settings on, now you shouldn't have to enter this in, it's already seeing it. So if I go to Setup, for example, go over here to Setup, all this information, it's already seeing it. But if it wasn't connected for some reason, if something got screwy, you can see the IP address there, 192.168.1.201. That is the IP address of the M32 console, okay? And it's seeing that through the network. But if you ever, for some reason the iPad's not connecting, you can manually enter that in. So make note of that. But if you don't happen to have that saved somewhere, you can always come over here and hit the Setup tab, and then scroll over to the network, and there you can see it. There's the IP address of the board, 192.168.1.201. There's also a submask and a gateway. This is not dynamically set. It's not like the router is doling out IP addresses as it wills. This is set static, so that's always going to stay the same way. So if you have somebody show up and they've brought their phone or their tablet and they want to connect so they can do their own mix, that is what you will have them enter into the app. So I'm actually going to double click out of here and I'm going to show you the M32Q app, which is what your users would be using, your band members would be using. So you can see it does see the correct IP address, and then I'm just going to hit connect. Now I've got the green light. I am connected. And then to get out of here, you can hit done. And now you're ready to mix your in-ears. And how you would choose that is you would rotate the iPad vertically. Okay. And then, sorry about the shakiness. Then you can select this little sprocket over here. Nope, I was wrong. Then you can select the name, I believe, at the bottom here. And you've got a choice of what we're listening to, okay? So right now none of these are set up, but when they are set up, they will be appropriately labeled to say, hey, that might be like wireless IEM1. And you would select that, hit done, and now rotate this back around, and now these faders represent what you're sending to your mix. So all you have to do is dial it in. I want a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you can swipe to get to the next bank. Oh, give me a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and so forth. Okay, and that's how you can have your band members get a mix by controlling it with their iPad, or this also works on an Android device. So that's how to use the iPad. That's how it connects, and super glad you guys went with this option, and I know it'll be a major benefit for you. So talk to you again soon on the next video.